It's months of steam rolling out. This is truly the most iconic, biggest collaboration in the country between Reginald Lewis and his family and literally the Reginald Lewis Museum, highlighting his entire life. This installation will be here for a year. We're inviting you all to come celebrate. Whether you loved Why White Guys Should Have All the Fun and you've read it, you definitely have to come to this. It's a pilgrimage for all of us Black entrepreneurs around the country to make sure that we come and celebrate a man who dedicated his life to being an example, a lighthouse with the possibilities for us to own our own, to acquire wealth, to acquire companies, and to acquire our own history that we would make. I want you to celebrate with him and come visit this museum today. I'm Munson Steve, and come visit with us. Thank you.
My name is Loida Lewis, Loida Nicholas Lewis, because when I met him, obviously, I was a newly admitted lawyer from the Philippines, and I met him on a blind date. One of those that worked.
When you think of your husband, for anybody that never had the opportunity to meet him, what are 3 things you want them to know?
Okay. First, he had goals, high goals, high dreams. He always set his goal. And I didn't know that, but one of his aunt told me. His goal was to become the richest Black man in America. What's the second one? Determination, tenacity. Nobody can tell him you can't do it. In fact, I told him I don't want to see him again 3 times, but he pursued. So total determination. And third, faith. Faith in his ability to achieve what he has set out. So I think those 3 things determine the course of his trajectory.
When you think of your husband, if you would share with us the courage to have vision that nobody else, and stand up and know that he was ready. How would you describe his courage when you saw it in place?
I think it's courage that I think is based on the injustice and inequality experienced by the Black community, by himself. And that's why, his book is a reflection of what he said to his grandparents when he was 6. When they were talking about why jobs, good homes the Black people were excluded. Why should white guys have all the fun at 6? So your question is, what impelled him? I think what impelled him is to show people the lie that when you are a person of color, a Black man, you cannot achieve the highest dreams as any white man can do.
He attended both an HBCU and a Harvard. How do you think those things, being at HBCU at that moment and being Harvard, impacted his vision?
I think being in a Black university, HBCU, historically Black colleges and universities, in the sense that he was among his people, and to be able to pursue his dream. But at HBCU, he was economics, and I think it was political science. I'm not too sure, but he had economics in there. So, but he did not zero in on just economics. He enjoyed music. So, it's, of course, he loves jazz and, modern music. But he also listened to opera. So very eclectic. He was always open to new adventures. In fact, that's how we met. His classmate was going to have a date with my sister. And so, since I was the secretary, my boss, Ray Glover, said, "Loida, why don't I do a double date? your sister and me, and you and a blind date. I fix it for you. And when he told Reginald Lewis, working in a law firm in New York, no, I'm too busy, can't. He said, oh, that's too bad, Reg. She comes from the Philippines. I've never dated an Oriental before. I'm coming. So for those who are listening, never be afraid to tackle something new, a new experience, because that will broaden your mind, your experience, and just broaden your horizon as a human being in America.
He set a high benchmark. He wanted to attend Harvard Law. What did Harvard prepare him for that he actually met when he began to build his business?
Well, even when he was younger, high school, college, he knew that if you want to be successful, black or white, especially for the white, you've got to go to the Ivy League schools. And Harvard Law School has the stamp of success just by being in Harvard Law School. And so when he learned at Virginia State University in 1965 that Harvard Law School is inviting the top five students of HBCUs, he said, I'm getting there. He was dissuaded by his classmate. Oh, come on, Reg, you're already graduating. But again, as I said, don't let anybody tell you cannot do it. But he did the work. Every day, or almost every day, he hounded his professor until finally, okay, Reg, you're number 5. Because they were only allowed to send 4. He came in as number 5. So his goal was, all right, I'll be so good, so brilliant, so determined that they'll have to admit me at Harvard Law School, and they did.
When you began to see him do his first big deal, what did you think, knowing that you were married to somebody who was now doing something that wasn't being done by the black communities?
No, I really didn't think of that. When I knew that he was exceptional, and when I left, as I said no the third time, I left for the Philippines. Just on the plane, I knew that I will never meet somebody like him again. And so it's not like, oh, he did the Beatrice $1 billion deal. I knew that he said early on, in fact, that was his honors mark at Harvard Law School. His term paper says, in order to create wealth, you have to do merger and acquisition. So, from the very top, he was a very successful lawyer. We had all the trappings of middle class. A brownstone in Manhattan, a second home in the Hamptons, a Mercedes car, but that was not enough. So for him to buy a company, to buy a company will be the source of great wealth. Buy, make it successful, sell. This exhibit, titled The Legacy of Reginald Lewis, is incredible. The museum, its staff, has done really such great work, because I have seen things that I have not seen before. I myself, the wife of Reginald Lewis, and he would say, good job, guys. So for those who are watching, please come and read every single thing that's on the walls, because then maybe you'll get a little spirit of who Reginald Lewis was, and maybe you can do the same thing.
Thank you for that. When you sat down and saw him doing deals, what were some of the mannerisms that he walked in the room? How would you describe his presence of being in the room, the confidence that he exuded?
Well, first of all, he will not take any crap. And that's what his grandfather says. Secondly, he did the work. Yeah, he did the work. It's not like, suddenly he worked hard. As a practicing lawyer, he would come home late. And as his wife, it was my duty to see that he comes on an oasis. All right? It's not like, why are you late again? It's, darling, have you eaten? Do you want a massage? Okay? So that when he comes home, he drinks fresh water, and so he can come out again and fight the monsters and dragons out there. The dragons of racism and bigotry. So when he comes home, there should be no dragon in the house.
Beautiful. Reading and studying. How, for those who want to be like him or to be successful in general, how did he apply his reading? Was he a ferocious reader at home?
Yes, he read a lot. And then, in fact, he would grade his books. After reading it, B minus, A plus, C. So he did read a lot. But he was, very wide-ranging in reading. Biographies, novels, and even technical books. And so I want to emphasize, when he failed 3 times to buy a company, it was not all because they're all racist. 3 fingers are pointing at him. And he had the humility to say to himself, I was not ready. Well then, Reg, get ready. And so he read prospectus. For him, it was telling a story of how successful leverage buyout, how successful companies becoming public. He read it like a novel. And then he understood what was successful there. They were not doing it alone. The 3 companies that he failed to buy, he was his own lawyer, his law firm, Lewis and Clarkson. He was his own investment banker, and he was his own accountant. So nobody was in with him, so that together, he was all alone. So the next time a call pattern company came, he hired an investment banker. Okay, that's Phyllis Less. He hired another accounting firm, and he hired another group of lawyers, so that they are all invested in his success.
The beauty of seeing him for most people is the iconic acquisition. But what's it like when you watch and you see this huge building coming out of the ground in Baltimore that will touch the souls of millions of children forever, and your husband's name is on this museum?
Well, actually, before he died in 1993, he dictated to his aunt, the vice president then of the Reginald F. Lewis Foundation, 10 things. I want these 10 things when the company sold. Maybe he had an intimation that something would happen to him. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want $5 million to be given to an African American Museum of History and Culture. And so it wasn't my idea, it was his. And so 20 years ago, in 2005, okay, when this was open to the public, I was just in tears because this was his dream. And now to have him on this museum for the entire 2nd floor to be about the legacy of Reginald Lewis is just over the top. I am so glad to the board of directors, to the staff, to those who made this possible.
When you move through this exhibit, the desk, the airplane, how did it touch you, and what moments do you want to make sure? I know you've asked them to read, but what are some of the other key moments in here that really touched your heart?
There are so many things, as I said, that they were able to find. Okay? High school, when he won over Polytechnic, the first encounter of a football team, black high school, white high school, and he smothered them. He won. To get that newspaper here, what teared me up was the one on the Modern Family. That we were able to get all of those pictures of our happy times together. That was touching.
Knowing that his legacy is living alive in you and the girls, how do you continue for other young women who are going to have to continue the legacy of their family. Why have you been? Because I've been to your home. You've been such an iconic wife. How important is it for entrepreneurs to have wives?
Yes. Spouse. All right. Whether you are the Reginald Lewis, man or woman, because sometimes it's the woman who's the rocket ship. Okay? The spouse, the significant other, has to be totally engaged that your partner is going to for the very top. And so you have to be very, very supportive. So I understood that he's going to be the rocket ship, hitch your wagon to a star. So I chose a job that's 9 to 5. Immigration lawyer with federal government, that's 9 to 5. No, And then I knew also that he would be out there, getting clients, working. So my own is, I am in charge of the 2 girls, okay? Leslie and Christina. So the spouse have to embrace the ambition of the partner and be supportive. In fact, one time, he was regaling about, this and that, and this and that he has done this and that. And I said, okay, darling, don't worry, you can do it. I said, what do you know about the deal business? I don't know the deal business, but I know you can do it. In other words, when your spouse, your partner comes home rejected, don't kick him. Oh, that was stupid to say. Why did you do that? He's already down. Why are you going to do that? Just lift him up. Oh, that was the right thing to say. He deserved it. That was okay, darling. Don't worry about it. Lift him up. That's what they need. So I think I was a good spouse to Reginald Lewis.
I love that. In the thinking, you too, the art. He loved art. When I visit, why is being eclectic, collecting cultural art important for iconic men like Reginald Lewis?
Well, as I said, he loved art because it was exposed to him at Virginia State University. And before he could afford the original artwork of Picasso, of George Braque, of Juan Gris, he would buy African-American painters, Vincent Smith, Romar Burden, Jacob Lawrence. He bought postcards. Okay, that's what he could afford. And he would place it in his office. And so as he moved offices, he would carry those postcards. And in fact, some of them were wrapped already because the rain came in. So what is important in art? Because I think, he didn't tell me, but I think art is an expression of the divine in each one of us. And so when an art, deep calls to deep, when an artwork strikes something in his art, then that's it. For us, human beings, when you look at good art, when you listen to good music, in a way, it's our divine, the divinity in us. We can see over there. So I have great respect for artists, performers, painters, even wordsmiths, because yesterday he gave his, what do you call it now, rap or poem, Keep Going No Matter What. And it was wonderful with the background of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. Oh, it was divine.
I love it. So lastly, for you, if you were imagining a young male or female walking in your home and you had to encourage them to never give up, what would you tell them? Not Reginald, but what would you tell them about not giving up?
Well, first of all, I'd like to know what are their dreams. I have to listen. You have to listen to the young person. And then, and then just say, all right, are you ready to work hard? Are you ready to accept defeat? Because do not confuse the first failure as the final defeat. That's not original. That's by by some author. So don't let failure discourage you. That's how you learn. So it's like, okay, Mr. Lewis loved this poem of lessons used. Life has been no crystal stairs. All right, so keep on going, honey. For life has not been a crystal stair or something like that. So that's what I would tell a young person, man and woman who have big dreams. Work hard, try, and get help. Ask questions. Don't be scared. And learn. Learn from your failure. Look into yourself. Be humble enough to see where were you lacking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Martin Steed, and I am so proud to be with my sister, a beautiful, wonderful thought leader, and obviously preserver of family history and legacy. Christina, if you would invite our audience to come visit the museum and just share why and how you would want them to come experience your phenomenal dad, for you and your mom and your sister, so that our entire community can celebrate with you all this beautiful institution has put together here at the Reginald Lewis Museum.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Menson. Why should white guys have all the fun? Reginald Lewis is an icon of business. And if you don't know about him, know that all of the top Black entrepreneurs that you know, Black business people that you know, Black Wall Street founders and executives know about my dad, Reginald Lewis, or as he was called by all his employees, Mr. Lewis. The exhibit here at the Lewis Museum, opening February 8th tomorrow, is the first ever solo exhibition focused on Dad. Many people know him from his book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?, which is his autobiography and has sold over 100,000 copies since it was published in 1995, but never had the chance to come and really see and experience his life, his story, and the beauty of business in the 1980s before. So that's what you can see at the Lewis Museum. You can see an icon, my dad, a hero, and also a look back to Wall Street in the 1980s. You also can see just things about life. He loved art. He had a huge family, extended family. You can see his car, you can see his clothes, you can even see his yearbook. And my favorite, you can sit here at a recreation of his desk, the desk that he used when he was doing one of his biggest deal, and soak in the power of a Wall Street titan.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And be sure to come study, hang out with you, and let's increase those books because it's something to study.
Absolutely.
It is truly
Absolutely
a moment. If you like 80s hip hop, then you got to fall in love with Reginald Lewis.
And 80s hip hop, 80s business. Can I do one more thing?
Of course.
And walking through it, today was the first day that I saw it. I mean, I am just blown away. Dad died. May he rest in power. He died in 1993, 32 years ago. And I think this is one of the closest I've felt to him in a really long time. We're really grateful to the Lewis Museum, to the people of Baltimore and Maryland, and to you, Munson, for putting this together and telling everyone about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.